देवाय ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय. So today we are reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 10, the Samam Bonam, Chapter 24, Worshipping Govardhan Hill, Text 23. Please repeat after me. Rajasa Choditaha Meghaha Varshanti Ambuni Sarvataha Prajaha Taihi Eva Siddhyanti Maha Indraha Kim Karishyati Rajasa Chodita Megha Rajasa Chodita Megha Varshyantyambuni Sarvataha Varshyantyambuni Sarvataha Prajastaireva Siddhyanti Prajastaireva Siddhyanti Mahendra Kim Karishyati Mahendra Kim Karishyati Rajasa Chodita Megha Varshantyambuni Sarvataha Prajastaireva Siddhyanti Mahendra Kim Karishyati. Rajasa Chodita Megha Varshantyambuni Sarvataha Prajastaireva Siddhyanti Mahendra Kim Karishyanti. Rajasa Chodita Megha Varshantyambuni Sarvataha Prajastaireva Siddhyanti Mahendra Kim Karishyati. Mataji. Rajasa Chodita Megha Varshantyambuni Sarvataha Prajastaireva Siddhyanti Mahendra Kim Karishyati. Rajasa by passion, Joditaha impelled, Meghaha the clouds, Varshanti pour down, Ambuni their water, Sarvataha everywhere, Prajaha the population, Taihi by that water, Eva simply, Siddhyanti maintain their existence, Maha Indraha the great Indra, Kim what, Karishyati can do. Translation purport by the disciples of His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. Translation: impelled by the material mode of passion, the clouds pour down their rain everywhere, and by this rain all creatures gain their sustenance. What has the great Indra to do with this arrangement? Purport: Lord Krishna continues his mechanistic explanation of existence, concluding Mahendra Kim Karishyati. who needs the great Indra, since the rain sent by the clouds, which in turn are impelled by the mode of passion, is actually producing everyone's food. The word Sarvataha indicates that the clouds magnanimously send their rain even on the ocean, rocks, and barren land, where there is no apparent necessity for such sweet water. So I'll read the translation again. Impelled by the material mode of passion, the clouds pour down their rain everywhere, and by this rain, all creatures gain their sustenance. What has the great Indra to do with this arrangement? So we are discussing the arguments which Krishna gives in support to why Nanda Maharaj and other Vrajavasis should not worship Indra for basically sustenance of their of the entire village. So Krishna speaks, Acharyas explain that this is the Karma Mimamsa philosophy which Krishna explains, and he started speaking about this from text 13, and from text 21 onwards, from 22 onwards, he speaks about the atheistic Sankhya philosophy. So those who are aware of these past times, they know that, or rather we know that Krishna speaks about the Karma Mimamsa philosophy, but it's not only that, he also speaks about the Sankhya philosophy. So according to a Vedic system, Astikya school, there are Shad Darshanas, there are 6 systems of Vedic philosophy. So there is Nyaya, Vaisheshika, Sankhya, Yoga, then Purva Mimamsa and Uttar Mimamsa. So Krishna spoke about Purva Mimamsa from text 13 onwards, and from text 22 onwards, he's speaking about Sankhya. And there's a significant amount of difference between Karma Mimamsa and Sankhya. So if we have to kind of organize, or if we have to give a sequence, so Uttar Mimamsa is the topmost understanding of Vedic philosophy, that's Vedanta Darshan, that's Srimad Bhagavatam. Then below that is Purva Mimamsa, and Sankhya is even further, it's even further below that. And the reason is because of the way the Vedic scriptures are being approached by the specific set of philosophies. So Astikya basically means one who accepts the Vedic version of the reality of this universe. So Asti is the substantial reality of creation, maintenance, sustenance, the ultimate source, and so on. So Asti iti Astikya. So one who understands, or one who endeavors to understand the substantial reality of this universe comes under the school of Astikya, and very specifically speaking, Srila Prabhupada also explains that, and it's also there in one of the Pancharatra scriptures, that Astikya means one who accepts the Vedic literatures as the ones explaining the reality of our existence. That's Astikya. And all the 6 philosophies, the Shad Darshanas are Astikya philosophies, and the Nastikya, those philosophies which do not accept the Vedic version, come under the Nastikya philosophies, which are the Buddhists and Jains and so on. But Srila Prabhupada, in one of his purports, he explains, or rather, no, we'll go sequence. So what Krishna explains here, the atheistic Sankhya philosophy, although it derives its philosophy from the Vedic statements, but it does not accept the supremacy of not only of Krishna, but of any higher authority. So atheistic Sankhya philosophy speaks only about Purusha and Prakriti, and whatever manifestations we see around us is a combination of these two. And when the Purusha understands that it's because of the Prakriti that he's being limited, then with that knowledge itself he becomes liberated. So this parallels, or it's in very close concordance with the philosophy of the Mayavadis. Correct? So, in one sense, no, Karma Mimamsa philosophy also is not the ultimate philosophy. Of course, we know that, because in Karma Mimamsa, or that which is called as Karma Kanda, there's at least an acceptance of existence of a higher entity, but they do not accept the authority of that entity. Correct? So existence is accepted, but then the authority, the independence, or that person, or that entity being the supreme controller, that is not accepted. So the more focus is more on the rituals, on the karma kanda activities, and these karma kanda activities are derived from the Vedic literatures themselves. So the understanding is that if one performs these rules, regulations, these rituals, which are given in the Vedic literatures, then he will attain his desire. So that's literally karma kanda. And if he performs those activities, those who are giving those results, those who are controllers of the prakriti, of the material nature, they are bound to give those results. So basically, karma is everything, or rather, their karma kandi activities is everything, and the higher entity does not have complete independence where he can decide whether to give the reactions to those activities or not, the results of those activities or not. He's bound to give. So that's karma mimamsa. So at least some acceptance of a higher entity is there in karma mimamsa philosophy. But in atheistic Sankhya philosophy, that's why in sequence, if you see, it's degraded, it's on a level lower than this, although it forms as part of the Astikya school, but it's completely Nastikya, because this is called Nir-Ishwaravad. So atheistic Sankhya philosophy is called Nir-Ishwaravad because they do not accept any supreme living entity. So it's actually atheistic in that way, although they accept the Vedic literatures, but then the conclusion which they come to is of no existence of any supreme entity. Everything is a combination of Purusha and Prakriti. So that's why it's kind of unique, that although it's under Astikya school, but actually it's totally Nastika because there is no acceptance of the Supreme Lord. Correct? And in one sense, if Karma Mimamsa philosophy is being followed, there is an acceptance of the Vedic system, and it's just a rigid followance of these scriptures, and it may lead to faith, development of more faith in the Vedic system. And when that person comes in association with the devotees, there is higher chance of him taking up devotional service, getting into the philosophy of Uttar Mimamsa. That's possible. But for those who are Sankhyas, who are cultivating the Sankhya philosophy, it is not possible for them because they do not accept any higher authority. Correct? So Srila Prabhupada actually explains that. So this atheistic Sankhya is primarily mental and intellectual, and they do not perform any Vedic ritualistic activities also. So although they accept the Vedic injunctions, or I will not say Vedic injunctions, they accept Vedic authority, but they will not follow the Vedic injunctions. So it's more of a mental and intellectual exercise for them. So they'll speculate, they'll try to gain knowledge, but then they'll not perform any activities. And Srila Prabhupada explains that. So I'll read this purport from Srimad Bhagavatam. This is Canto 4, Chapter 1, Text 27, where he speaks about this. So he writes, atheistic men do not believe in the existence of God, basically referring to the Sankhya philosophers, and thus they understand everything which is happening in our daily affairs to be due to physical arrangement and chance. Atheists believe in the atheistic Sankhya philosophy of the combination of Prakriti and Purusha. They believe only in matter and hold that matter under certain conditions of amalgamation gives rise to the living force, which then appears as Purusha, the enjoyer. Then, by a combination of matter and the living force, the many varieties of material manifestation come into existence. So, this is the Sankhya philosophy, which is in line with what the modern scientists say. By the combination of material elements, then the living force is generated, and by their combination, then the entire material manifestation comes into existence. Srila Prabhupada continues. Nor do atheists believe in the injunction of the Vedas. Correct? So although they come under the Astikya school, but actually they do not accept the Vedic injunctions. That's quite unique. According to them, all the Vedic injunctions are simply theories that have no practical application in life. Taking all this into consideration, Prithu Maharaj suggested that theistic men will solidly reject the views of the atheists on the grounds that there cannot be many varieties of existence without the plan of a superior intelligence. atheists very vaguely explain that these varieties of existence occur simply by chance, but the theists who believe in the injunction of the Vedas must reach all their conclusions under the direction of the Vedas. So this is the fault with specifically with Sankhya philosophy and with all the other philosophies who do not accept the Vedic injunctions in their whole. So we've done this Nyaya, then Vaisheshika, then Yoga, Sankhya, then Purva-mimamsa and Uttar-mimamsa. All of them accept Vedic authority, but the rest 5, separated from Uttar-mimamsa, apart from Uttar-mimamsa, the Vedic injunctions are accepted in a selective manner. So whichever appeals to their philosophy, whichever appeals to their thought process, that is accepted, and everything else is kind of wishy-washed away or rejected. But Uttar-mimamsa accepts everything in its proper, perfect essence. So that's the understanding. So when Krishna is giving all these arguments, at least Purva-mimamsa was still kind of acceptable, that okay, at least here performing Vedic injunctions, but now he's come even one down left to lower, and saying that atheistic Sankhya philosophy says, speak like this, everything is a combination of Purusha and Prakriti, everything happens by the modes of material nature. So therefore, no, Mahindra Kim Karishati, what the hell is Mahindra doing? No, what is he doing? There's no involvement of him at all. It's just the combination of the modes of material nature. So that way, no, atheistic Sankhya is actually more dangerous for our understanding. And the same purport, actually, Srila Prabhupada, he continues that, and we discussed, atheistic Sankhya is Nirishwaravad. And this Nirishwaravad is also propagated by the Mayavadis or the impersonalists. So they also accept Vedic authority, and in the true sense of the definition of the term Astikya, they should be accepted as ones who have faith in the Supreme Lord, who are following the Vedic system, but because they give their own interpretation by their mental and intellectual faculties, so therefore they're actually they are more aligned with the Nastika philosophy. So Srila Prabhupada writes about this. So he says, when Lord Buddha preached his theory of non-violence, he was obliged to deny the authority of the Vedas, and for this reason, he was considered by the followers of the Vedas to be a Nastika. But although Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu very clearly enunciated that the followers of Lord Buddha's philosophy are Nastikas or atheists because of their denial of the authority of the Vedas, he considered the Shankarites, or the Mayavadis, who wanted to establish Vedic authority by trickery and who actually followed the Mayavad philosophy of Buddha's school to be more dangerous than the Buddhists themselves. So although they're Astikas, they're more dangerous than the Nastikas. The Shankarite philosopher's theory that we have to imagine a shape of God is more dangerous than denial of the existence of God. So Srila Prabhupada, those who say there is no God, okay, still acceptable, because we clearly know who they are. We can identify, they are atheists, they are Nastikas, and this is their philosophy. But those who come in the garb of Vedic authority, those who say that they follow Vedic authority, but then give this kind of philosophy which is saying that they basically have to imagine a shape of God, and the God does not exist, they are even more dangerous. Correct? And this Sankhya philosophy, actually Krishna himself, yes. Krishna himself equates that with the demoniac philosophy. In Bhagavad Gita, when he's speaking to Arjuna, he gives, this comes in 16th chapter, 8th verse, he says, Asatyam apratishtham te jagadahuru anishwaram. Right? Anishwaram, aparaspara sambhutam, kimanyat kama haitukam. Right? So asatyam apratishtham se. This material manifestation is asatya, apratishta, nothing is manifest properly. Jagadahur anishwaram. And this entire Jagat does not have any supreme control. It's Anishwara. There is no Ishwara. Aparaspara sambhutam kimmanyat kama haitukam. Because of lusty activities between the Purusha and Prakriti, male and female, everything, the entire material manifestation is created. So when he was small, he spoke the same philosophy, trying to convince Nanda Maharaj. And when he grew up, when he's speaking Bhagavad Gita, then he gives the proper understanding that this is actually the demoniac philosophy. Right? So he kind of agrees in that way that whatever he spoke to Nanda Maharaj that time was a demoniac in nature in that way. But then no, it's all pastimes. It's all for the sake of pastimes. So we can say that Krishna is actually speaking like a heretic. At least till he was speaking Karma-mimamsa philosophy, there was some Vedic authority there. But now he's speaking like a Pashandi, literally speaking. And it's also interesting to note that Nanda Maharaj, who who followed all the Vedic system. Now, Varnashrama institution was perfectly followed by Nanda Maharaj, who had very good understanding of the Vedic scriptures and all. He also agreed. He also got mesmerized by Krishna's arguments. Of course, no. Krishna, by his Yogamaya potency, then he does that. But then there's another aspect also. I think one of the acharyas explained that Krishna, although he's speaking that philosophy, Nanda Maharaj and other Vrajavasis were actually not bewildered by such philosophy. Their whole goal was that whatever Krishna says, we will do. So they did not have this inhibition. They are not giving some proper reasoning, logic, trying to go through this intellectual exercise, trying to understand what Krishna is saying. Is it in line with the Vedic scriptures and all? No, they had no such thought. Their goal was to follow whatever Krishna says, and that is their full pure devotion to Krishna. And that's why Krishna also did not want Nanda Maharaj and other Vrajavasis to do this Devata worship. And specifically here, if we see Krishna, this last line of this verse, Mahendraha Kim Karishyati, it's like a direct open challenge to Indra as to Indra, what are you doing? What can you do? You cannot do anything. What is Indra doing now? He's not doing Mahendra. Although he's known as Mahendra, but actually he is not the one who is giving us all these benefits. It is the three modes of material nature. Okay, so that's where the problem comes. Mahendra is not giving everything that is there. He's there as one of the administrative demigods working under the guidance and jurisdiction of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. But then when Krishna gives, no, Mahendra is not doing anything, but the modes of material nature are doing everything. So with that one statement, he completely changes the philosophy itself. It becomes atheistic Sankhya. And Srila Sridhar Swami, while commenting on this particular verse, he says that the reason why Krishna, he speaks like this. And he gives the argument that, see, if rains are actually given by an intelligent person and a very powerful person like Mahendra, and Mahendra, literally, if we have to translate in Sanskrit, Indra means king, and Maha Indra means the one who's king of kings, who is like kind of the supreme controller of this administration of this universe. So if he is really the controller, then why is he showering rain everywhere? Right? So even if you see in the purport, it is said that the rain falls on ocean, on rocks, on barren land, where there is no necessity of rain, right? Ocean already has water. Why do you have to pour rain there? And then in barren land, anyway, if you put lots of rain also, if it rains in desert, it doesn't make any difference. And then in rocks, what is going to grow in rocks? If it rains in river, then what's the point of pouring rain in river? And if Indra is really doing that, then either he is not intelligent enough, or he is not doing things properly. So therefore, with that argument, we can conclude that Indra is actually not doing anything. It's only the modes of nature, because the modes of nature are not really active. It's not really a personality. Modes of nature are controlled by Durga Devi. It's material nature, but then they are not active in the sense how Indra is. So therefore, this is the comment of Sridhar Swami, that because rain is falling on all these different places also, so actually Indra is not doing anything. He is not responsible for the rain. The rain is due to the modes of material nature. Correct. And this is also indirectly referring to Indra, or when Krishna speaks, Mahendraha Kim Karishyati, it also refers to Indra's understanding. One is challenging the pride of Indra, like, oh Indra, what are you doing? No, you are not doing anything. And when he speaks, Rajasa Chodita Megha, he is basically saying that Indra is also influenced by the modes of material nature. So it is the modes of material nature actually which is carrying out all these different activities. In yesterday's class also this was discussed, that modes of material nature are performing all these activities, and one should not think that he is the one who is performing those activities. And Indra is also under this modes of material nature only. And Krishna speaks about that in the 17th chapter. He says, 7th chapter, 13th verse in Bhagavad Gita, he says, Tribir Gunamair Bhaver, Ebhi Sarvamidam Jagat, Mohitam Nabi Janati, Vamebhyah Paramavyayam. So Tribir Gunamair Bhaver. So in the purport of this particular verse, Srila Prabhupada writes very specifically that the entire world is under the control or jurisdiction of the three modes of material nature, which includes the demigods as well. So all the demigods are also influenced by these modes of material nature. So in that sense, even the rain, which apparently is being sent by Indra, that is also controlled by the modes of material nature, because Indra is also controlled by the modes of material nature. So the only person who is beyond the modes of material nature is Krishna himself, because he says, Mamebhyah Param Avyayam. So he is the supreme controller. And Indra is actually within the modes of material nature. And is Indra's pride of him being the one who's providing rain is also under the modes of material nature, specifically the mode of passion. So mode of passion is such where one thinks that he is the one who's doing things. Right? The conception of one being the doer, one performing activities, one being very active so that he can gain the results and enjoy himself is very prominent in Rajoguna. So Mahendraha or Indra is actually influenced by this Rajoguna prominently. So therefore, whatever activities he is performing, it's actually done by the modes of material nature only and not performed by directly Indra himself. So that's also one of the understanding that we can derive from this verse. So Krishna is challenging Indra, kind of mocking Indra, like what can you do? So when someone is mocked, a powerful person is mocked like this, then it's a challenge. It's a challenge that what Shakti do you possess that you think that you are so proud of it. So, and then Indra also reacted very predictably, showing his power after the Govardhan Puja and everything was complete. So he powered, a heavy downpour of rain and everything happened. So after all these things happened. So this verse can be seen as a provoking verse for Indra. Say, oh Mahendra, what can you do? And then Mahendra tried to show what he can do, but then of course he could not achieve anything. Right, so these are some points. So I think in future then Nanda Maharaj, as we go through this verses, Nanda Maharaj agrees to what Krishna says, of course, out of love and affection for him, not because he gave all these atheistic arguments. And then as the pastime continues like that. So I'll stop here. Have any questions or any comments? I'm not.
People, this all is mythology and this Hindu belief and all. There are so many people who don't belong to this faith of Hinduism or whatever. They are in different places. They pose the same argument that there is rains in.
Sorry.
There are rains in different places, and this is no logic at all. Like,
yes.
There is the rain is in the ocean, the rain is in other places, so it doesn't make any sense. So this is all just kind of mythology. So that's how they put an argument.
They give an argument like
what
that.
he says.
So these are superficial arguments. So they give all these different kinds of arguments. But so one cannot decide the philosophy which one is supposed to follow in his life just based on where the rain falls and where it does not fall. Anyways, some people speak like that.
One question, if Sankhya is saying that the combination of Purusha and Prakriti is what causes the universe, it causes creation, but they say that the Purusha, the living life force, comes about when there is a certain chemical combination. Who is the Purusha and what is the Prakriti?
I will not be able to answer that because I have not studied Sankhya philosophy. So, they say this, as Srila Prabhupada writes in this purport, that what is the causation of Purusha and Prakriti is not very clearly defined as far as my understanding goes. So, what is the cause of their existence? How they came into being? Is there an entity which is beyond this Purusha and Prakriti? Who is the cause of Purusha and Prakriti and all? I don't think Sankhya very clearly classifies that. But then the philosophy itself is explained. Although they explain all this different philosophy, and there's a conception of liberation also. There is a conception of liberation also in this atheistic Sankhya philosophy, where they say that the Purusha is the living force and the Purusha is suffering in contact with Prakriti. But then when the influence of the Prakriti is removed, then the Purusha becomes liberated. And what is the exact explanation of that liberated state? That is kind of not understandable. So although they explain, it's like the Mayavadi arguments only. So many arguments will be given, but then to really understand what merging into Brahman means or what becoming one with Brahman means, they will not be able to explain. And if we even ponder them, when we poke them with more and more questions, they will say, when you realize, then you realize. And one who has realized, he will not be able to speak because his words are material in nature. That's the argument which the Mayavadis give. Shabda, what is this? All words. There are so many words, but then this is not under the purview of the words at all, because all the words are material. So one who realizes, one who has that knowledge, he realizes. So cannot be explained. Anirvachaniya. Right? Cannot be explained. So Sankhya is very similar to that. Although they have all this explanation of different points from Vedic literatures, primarily from Upanishads, Aranyakas and Upanishads, I would say, because they do not perform any activities. So there is no conception of going to Samhitas, Brahmanas, chanting Vedic mantras, performing rules and regulations, performing those karmakandi activities and so on. So everything is, all they derive their Vedic statements also from the Upanishads, but it's convoluted in such that although they explain so many things, but one cannot understand it. So explanation is there, but understanding is not there. So it's like that. So very difficult to actually to answer the question, where does Purusha come from, where does Prakriti come from, how they get liberated and all. They will have their explanations, I do not know, but then it will not make any sense. It will not make sense. It will be very good intellectual exercise. Mayavadis also, they like all these speculations, different kinds of understanding, so much into Shastra they'll get into. But ultimately, what's the conclusion? What is one supposed to do? What's the goal of one's life? That always remains unclear. So that's why this is very important that in the first canto, first chapter, first verse itself, when Srila Prabhupada speaks, then he says that the Mayavadis, by rejecting spiritual reality, has given indirect impetus to the sexual activity of people. Because it is so dry, there is no direct conclusion to all their explanations, that a person thinks, anyway, it's something which cannot be attained or something which is too mysterious. So I engage in sense gratification. At least this is available now. So why think about something which is not available and we do not know even the nature of that particular reality? That which is available now, it gives me happiness. So I engage in sexual activities, sense gratificatory activities. So all these philosophies, they lead only to sense gratification. And karma kanda is directly sense gratification only. You perform all activities only for derived benefit so that you can perform, or rather you can enjoy all your senses. So that's why how all these things goes. So if we really have to categorize, all the other 5 set of philosophies, apart from Uttar Mimamsa, have this material tinge mixed with it. So they are all kind of only for enjoyment within this material world. Uttar Mimamsa gives full conclusion. Bhagavatam gives full conclusion as to what the goal of life is and what reality we can expect. What is the process of attaining that reality and what we can expect there. So that way Bhagavatam becomes very special because it explains everything. All the philosophies reject, it denies all the philosophies also, at the same time gives the highest reality as well. So everything is there in Bhagavatam. Right? Thank you so much. Srimad Bhagavatam ki, Srila Prabhupada ki jai.